We have made it to the 2026 NBA Draft, an opportunity for teams to add some young talent to the organization and look to potentially bring themselves closer to a championship. We have gone through most of these prospects in depth, whether it's been through our regular season prospect profiles, our college basketball recap, or most recently, last episode, our draft preview. We also went through the draft lottery, and fittingly, the year that we had a generational prospect atop the class, it's the Lakers who get the number one pick. Coincidence? I think not. The interesting part about this lottery is that within the top 10 picks, there's a lot of teams that are either contending or would like to be contending this year, and that'll be interesting to go through as we talk about some trades prior to the draft. At the end of the last episode, we went through the NBA Draft Combine. We went through our pre-draft workout where we were able to invite roughly a dozen players into the facility and work them out prior to the draft. Our Blazers have picked 28 in the first round and 6 in the second round, but we've got plenty of draft capital in the future to potentially look to move if we need to, and we've got a few players on tradable contracts as well. So if there's a prospect who we really want to go up and get, like we did last year with Khalil Griffin, we'll have the opportunity to do so. As we look at these mock drafts, all three of them have Dante Del Toro, the Italian stallion, going number one overall. That's the expected pick. Anything else would be a surprise. And then the draft really starts at pick 2 with the Atlanta Hawks. This draft has us getting Emmanuel Salvador in the first round, the talented guard out of Kentucky, and then Michi Porter Jr., another talented guard from UConn. So in 2 of the 3 mock drafts, they had the Hawks getting Jalen Richmond, the Duke forward, who many people believe is the second best prospect in this draft, but with a torn ACL, there are some questions with him. This one has us getting, again, Emmanuel Salvador in the first round. The 3rd mock draft also has the Hawks going with Jalen Richmond, and if they are scared off the injury history, who do they pick? Could it be someone like Cyrus Warwick, who they were projected to get? This mock draft, meanwhile, has us getting Ashton Wisham with the 28th pick. So let's take a look at some trades around the league, and we'll start with the Lakers, who had the number 1 overall pick. And knowing the Lakers, they want to win as soon as possible. So you can make the argument that they could get a king's ransom, a superstar for their top pick. But even they're smart enough to realize they could be getting a franchise-altering player, and they want to hand him the car keys to the team. So with that, they'll be trading away Anthony Davis. Davis is not a number 1 option at this stage of his career. LeBron leaves, and the Lakers instantly become one of the worst teams in the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets, meanwhile, need front court help. The Hornets were the number 1 seed last year in the Eastern Conference, and they're looking for that missing piece, and I think they got it right here. The Jazz are also in this deal as a 3rd team to take on contracts, and they wanted to add some veterans with Drew Holiday and Jose Alvarado. The Lakers will be getting back Markelle Fultz, Ben Shepherd, and 4 first-round picks, although I will say all 4 first-round picks really are not that valuable individually, but now the Lakers have a lot of picks to work with in the future. 3 of the picks come from the Hornets. I expect they'll be good consistently over the next 5 years. The other pick, they got a 2028 first from the Rockets. And again, I don't think that's going to be a great pick, but more so the principle of the Lakers getting some additional draft assets to either use as picks or trade is more so why they did this deal, not so much because the picks themselves are very valuable. Next up, James Harden is on the move to the Pacers. If you count the Sixers, this will be the 5th different team that Harden has been on during this series. That's a lot. James Harden's 36 years old. He's running out of time. The Pacers could use some scoring off the bench, and they're giving up pretty much nothing to get him. So those 2 trades involve big-name players. Let's talk about some deals that involve picks high up in this draft, and especially as we look between picks 3 and 9 in the first round, all of those teams are contending or want to contend right now other than the Wizards. New Orleans, OKC, and the Rockets are legit title contenders, while the Warriors and Knicks have been recently. Well, the Knicks are actually going to look to tear things down. They're going to be trading away Julius Randle to the Warriors for the 7th overall pick. This Knicks core won a championship back in Season 1, but the Knicks haven't really been the same since, and they feel that it's best to restart things. Randle hasn't been as good since he led the Knicks to the title in Season 1, winning the Finals MVP, but he's still got some good years left and could still be worth what is going to be a top 10 pick, 7th overall. The Warriors realize that they're not going to have Steph Curry that much longer. He's 38 years old, and they want to build around him and Donovan Mitchell, and adding a true third star in Julius Randle gives them their best opportunity to be a title contender one more time in Steph Curry's career. The Warriors will be getting some picks back as they send John Collins and Josh Okogie to the Nets for 2 first-rounders, picks 27 and 29, along with Isaiah Jackson. With the addition of Randle, there's no more need for John Collins in Golden State. The Nets are going to scoop him up, but Brooklyn is still going to add some draft picks here, and some pretty good ones. So the Oklahoma City Thunder are looking to unload some picks they currently have. After this year, the Thunder don't have any more extra draft picks, so they're looking to change that. They're going to trade picks 5 and 16 to the Brooklyn Nets for 3 future first-rounders. 1 from Phoenix next year, 1 from Philadelphia next year, and 1 from Golden State the following year. The Nets still have 2 first-rounders in 2027 and 2 in 2028, so they'll be fine. The Thunder will get an additional first-rounder in 2030 from Boston for Jalen Noel. The Celtics are looking for some guard depth. OKC doesn't need all these picks this year, so they're going to add 4 future first-round picks just to try to restockpile up, but they're not done yet. They're trading the 20th pick and 2 second-rounders to Milwaukee for a 2030 first-rounder. So they only have 1 pick this year. That is pick number 6. But they now have multiple first-round picks in each of the next 4 years, and they now have plenty of future flexibility in terms of draft capital once again. So those are the moves around the league. Few big trades. Anthony Davis and Julius Randle find new homes, while multiple picks inside the top 10 are traded away. The Nets now have pick 5. The Knicks now have pick 7. The Pelicans, Rockets, and Magic for now are all going to stay with their current picks. We'll see if they look to move those as we get into the draft. So let's not waste any more time and get this one started. The 2026 NBA Draft is now officially open, and the Los Angeles Lakers are on the clock with the number 1 pick. We all assume this is going to be Dante Del Toro. It would be a complete surprise and waste of the number 1 pick if it's not. Plenty of talented players after him, but the pick here has to be Dante, right? There's no way the Lakers traded away Anthony Davis just to draft a guard. So with the first pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Dante Del Toro from Verona, Italy. He most recently played for FC Barcelona in Spain. Del Toro just played in the greatest European league in the world, and he averaged 15, 7, and 3 while playing great defense. He checks off all the boxes. Somebody who can score the ball, pass the ball, defend, athletic. This is a legit generational prospect, and the Lakers are adding their next superstar. From West to Baylor to Kareem to Magic to Kobe Bryant to Danny Green to LeBron James, and now Dante Del Toro looks to lead the Lakers into the future, and now the draft really starts here with Atlanta. The Hawks select Chance Corradino out of Pitt. Our first surprise of the day. I did not see this one coming. So Corradino ends up being the 2nd overall pick, and he's a really interesting case. A very talented center, 7'1", 230 pounds, very skilled offensive player. Offensively, he's similar to guys like Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. He's not as good as either of them, though, on the defensive end of the floor. Corradino's an interesting story. He was at Pitt for 3 years and really finally blossomed as a junior, and scouts kind of view him as a late bloomer and really like his skill set. Truthfully, we were very high on him, and had he fallen past like the 10th pick, we would have been on the phones looking to move up for him, but clearly that was never in play as he ends up going here at 2 to the Atlanta Hawks. It's not every day you see a 3-star high school recruit and 3-year college player going 2nd overall in the NBA Draft. Pretty cool story. With the 3rd pick, the New Orleans Pelicans select Jalen Richmond from Duke University. I like what New Orleans is doing here. They're playing the long game. Yes, the Pelicans are contending for an NBA title, but they also recognize that in the draft, you're not drafting for just this next season, you're drafting for the next 10 years. When healthy, Jalen Richmond is easily the 2nd best player in the draft. He's a versatile forward who gives you everything you look for in a modern day wing. He can handle the ball, he can run the floor, he can create his own shot. He's a good passer. He's an 80 overall, not a 64. His grades here are not accurate because of his injury. He tore his ACL in January and likely will not be available at least for the first 30 games of the regular season. But once he's healthy, he's going to be a major asset for the Pelicans, who just added another big-time piece to their roster. So the Wizards are on the clock here with the 4th pick, but we have the trade, and it's a very fascinating one. They'll be sending picks 4 and 31 to the Knicks for Jalen Brunson. So who would have thought of all those teams picking between 3 and 10 in this year's draft? It's the Wizards who go out and trade for Jalen Brunson. The reason why Washington is doing this is because there were only 3 players they wanted in this draft. They knew they were not going to get their hands on Del Toro or Richmond, and their target throughout the pre-draft process was Chance Corradino. They were very surprised to see him selected 2nd overall. There was nobody else they really wanted here, and with an opportunity to get a player like Jalen Brunson, they decided to take it. The Knicks, meanwhile, continued their teardown. They now have 3 picks in the top 10. So now Brunson and Randall are both gone, and it's an entirely new era for the New York Knicks. With the 4th pick, the New York Knicks select Kolo Doumbolo from Baylor. The Knicks are going to start things off by grabbing the ultra-versatile and athletic forward. Doumbolo is going to be one of the best defensive players in this draft right off the bat. I think he's a very technically refined player. He's a good passer from the post. He just needs to improve his jump shot. He doesn't really have much of an outside game scoring the basketball. But if he improves there, he's going to be really good because he's a good finisher, good passer, versatile defender, and he's one of the best athletes in the class, coming in at 6'8", 230. He's already got an NBA body. With the 5th pick, the Brooklyn Nets select William Abimbola from UCLA. A little bit of a surprise here, in my opinion. I did not expect Abimbola to go in the top 5, but the Nets are clearly intrigued by the young, raw, physically talented center. He's 7'3", but he also weighs less than 200 pounds. He's got a long ways away from not just filling into his body, but being a consistent NBA rotation player. But the Nets clearly believe in the upside that this kid brings to the table. The Nets traded for Prada Piloris last year in the Mikal Bridges trade, so I'm curious why they went back to adding another raw center. Interestingly, Mars Ingram Jr. did not go in the top 5. He may be a gifted shot maker, but teams seem to be scared off of the fact that he hasn't played anything above high school ball. The Oklahoma City Thunder select Dev Doldurma from Princeton, hailing from Turkey. One of the fastest rising players in this draft, Doldurma wasn't really on anybody's radar coming into this season, but that changed quickly. He averaged 17 and 10 this year for the Princeton Tigers, leading them to the 2nd weekend of March Madness. He's a very well-rounded player right off the bat. He can score from all 3 levels, really good defender. He plays winning basketball. The reason why OKC is most excited about him, though, is his athleticism. He's just the 3rd player in the last 15 years to run a 3-quarter sprint time at the Combine in under 3 seconds. And keep in mind, he is not some small guard. He is 6'8", 215, and he's built like an ox. I think Thunder fans are going to love him. The New York Knicks select Mars Ingram Jr. from Oak Hill Academy. If there was one landing spot I was hoping for Mars Ingram, it was the Knicks. He was born to play at Madison Square Garden. His scoring ability is rare, and I get he hasn't played above the high school level, but consistently playing against great teams and great athletes, his shot-making ability is second to none. He reminds me a lot of Donovan Mitchell, a slightly taller version of him in the sense that both of them are built similarly with super long wingspans. Athletically, they share a lot of similar traits. The Knicks have wanted Donovan Mitchell for years. Now you've got your own Donovan Mitchell, but he's 3 inches taller. The Knicks are back on the clock with the 8th pick, their 3rd of the day, and they select Giovanni Merritt from the G League. With New York's 3 top picks, I think they did pretty well with all 3. Giovanni Merritt had a really solid season with the G League Ignite, averaging around 14 points a game. I think he's got a pretty good feel offensively as a passer and as a scorer, and I think him, Mars Ingram, and Kolo Doumbolo all have very differing skill sets and are going to be able to complement each other well as the future franchise pieces for the New York Knicks. The Houston Rockets are on the clock here at pick 9, and they select Naquan Washington from Oklahoma. The Rockets won 65 games last year. They're looking for guys who are going to be able to hop into the rotation right away, and that's exactly what Naquan Washington's going to be able to do. Really good 3-and-D guy, one of the better perimeter defenders in the Big 12 last year, while shooting 40% from beyond the arc. I did not think Washington had any shot of going in the top 10. I viewed him as a top 15 prospect, but I thought he was going to go in the late first round. Clearly, teams agreed with my evaluation on him, and I do think he'll be worth a top 10 pick. With the 10th pick, the Orlando Magic select Sidney Urmano from Switzerland. The common conception around European players is that they're more fundamentally sound entering the league compared to American players. With Sidney Urmano, that is absolutely true. A very smart player at his age. The one weakness with him is his ability to space the floor, but that's something that can definitely be taught. I think he's a great fit for this Magic team in the sense that he's versatile, he can guard multiple positions, and he's a really good playmaker. The exact type of player that the Magic have loved to build their roster around over the last few years. Some media people suggest that he's a second rounder. I think they're on cocaine. With the 11th pick, the Utah Jazz select Cyrus Warwick from Auburn. Warwick led the Tigers to a Final Four appearance this past season, and he was awesome in the NCAA tournament, averaging 19 points a game on good shooting. Warwick averaged around 14 points a game in the regular season. He was inconsistent on a game-to-game basis, but when he gets hot, he was one of the best three-point shooters in the country, and he's a great perimeter defender. The Sacramento Kings select Mindaugas Karosas from Lithuania. At 7'2", 255 pounds, he's built like your old school throwback, back to the basket big. But I think there's more to his game than that. He knows how to really use his size offensively to maneuver inside. Defensively, I think he's got some work to do. He's not very mobile or agile, and he lacks lateral quickness. So I think he could be a little bit of an issue defensively to start his career, but I think he makes up for it with his offensive ability. Kind of a similar player to Domantas Sabonis. Not the passer that Sabonis is, but it's fitting that the Kings traded away Sabonis a few years ago. Now they get their new version of him. The Dallas Mavericks are on the clock here at 13, but not for long. This pick is on the move. The Mavs are getting Miles Turner from the Golden State Warriors. I love this deal for the Dallas Mavericks. Miles Turner is on a pretty team-friendly contract. He has 3 more years on his deal, and I think he's a really good fit alongside Luka, Kyrie, and Siakam. This is unfortunate for us because I was actually looking to target Miles Turner via trade, especially if a lot of our targets didn't fall to our selection, so unfortunately, we're not going to get to do that. Ultimately, with the 13th pick, the Golden State Warriors are trading up for Dejon Hill from Oak Hill Academy, the backcourt mate of Mars Ingram Jr., who was drafted earlier by the Knicks. Hill is a little bit undersized at 6'1", 185, but he makes up for it with his smooth lefty stroke. He's great at driving to the basket and finishing, good all-around shot maker, good playmaker, not very good defensively though, but I think having Steph Curry as a mentor is going to really work well for him. Got to keep in mind, Steph Curry's 38 years old. When Dejon Hill was born, Curry was in college at the University of Davidson. I really like what the Warriors have done today, turning the 7th pick, Miles Turner, and John Collins into Julius Randle and 3 additional first-round picks this year. The game suggests that they should trade Randle to the Suns for the 14th pick. I'm going to step in for the Warriors' sake and make sure they don't do that because they just traded the 7th pick for him. Why on God's name would they consider doing that? So the Suns will have to stick and pick, and they select Caden Brake from Creighton. One of the best scorers in the Big East is a true freshman. Brake's shot-making ability is ultra impressive, along with his ridiculous efficiency. 55% from the field, 46% from 3. His shot-making ability in a backcourt with Devin Booker will be must-see television. I am curious to see if the Suns bring back Kevin Durant. The relationship between Durant and the Suns doesn't look too strong right now. The Warriors are going to try to trade Julius Randle again, and again for their sake, I won't let them. The Raptors select Wesley Deagle from Michigan. Deagle is a talented 6'7" combo guard who's got really good versatility on both ends of the floor. He's a Masai Ujiri type of player, and I think he'll be a really good fit in Toronto. The Brooklyn Nets at pick 16 select Jalen Thamba from Marquette. Going into the year, Thamba was projected as a top 5 pick. His stock fell a little bit because of his inability to shoot the basketball, but he does have a C+3. I think his jump shot will come around. I like his versatility on defense. He can guard 3s, 4s, and 5s. We were hoping Thamba would drop a little bit longer so we could move up for him, but unfortunately that won't happen. The Pacers here at pick 17 select Napoleon Emerald III out of Duke. The first player who we really haven't talked about at all. Emerald's stock has risen quietly over the past couple of weeks because of his impressive size and length. 7'3", 200 pounds. He's got really good upside defensively, but overall he's got a ways to go. Luckily for the Pacers, they're not going to need him to play right away. They've got good front court depth as they look to develop him. With the 18th pick, the Denver Nuggets select Cason Campbell out of Arkansas, one of the best players in college basketball this year. Campbell led Arkansas to a national title. Another guy who's a flat-out winner, joining a team in the Denver Nuggets who are very much missing good depth pieces off the bench who can contribute to championship basketball. Cason Campbell's going to be able to do that. The Minnesota Timberwolves at 19 select Sua Talonyi. He played for the Brisbane Bullets, hailing from Samoa. This is another guy who we were really eyeing up, hoping he'd fall a little bit farther. Talonyi is not a great offensive player, can't really shoot the ball, but I really like his versatility on the defensive end of the floor. And I think with his rebounding ability and his athleticism, he would have been a really good fit on our roster. So now that Talonyi is gone, now that Jalen Thamba is gone, there's one guy I really want to get, and we're going to look to move up for him here at pick 20 with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks don't want to trade this pick, though, and it was made very apparent to me that the Bucks are not willing to deal. They clearly are the guy they really like. I don't want to give up another first-round pick to move up 8 spots. I'm willing to do some swaps of seconds, but that's as far as I'll go. The Atlanta Hawks at pick 22 seem more interested to deal, so if the guy we want falls to 22, we'll make that trade. The problem is, I think there's a good chance that Milwaukee or Philadelphia drafts the player I'm targeting because I think he'd be a really good fit for both of these teams. Ultimately, here at pick 20, the Bucks will select Jonathan Wiggum from Gonzaga. If you can't tell by the tone of my voice, I am not pleased, and that's because Jonathan Wiggum was the guy we were hoping to trade up for here. I'm not surprised that he was drafted here by Milwaukee, but I was hoping he could fall a little bit farther. You're probably wondering why we wanted to trade up for a guard, because we have so many. Well, Anthony Simons is an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and he wants a lot of money. We're going to try to work it out with Simons because he's a player who we really want to bring back. But if we were unable to, Jonathan Wiggum would be the perfect replacement. He has a very similar skill set to Simons in the sense that he's a very talented 3-level scorer, he's a good playmaker, and he's a winner. Led Gonzaga to a national title appearance. I think he would have been a perfect fit off our bench. The Sixers select Cameron Carlisle out of USC. With Wiggum off the board, Carlisle became our new target. Didn't shoot the 3 ball well, only 29% this year at USC, but I think he's a better shooter than his percentages suggest. All the guys who we were targeting are flying off the board. This is a disaster. The Atlanta Hawks select Sir Xander Hopkins from IMG Academy here at pick 22. Obviously, there are a handful of high school prospects in this year's draft, and interestingly, a lot of them really haven't gone that high, only 2 in the lottery, as Hopkins ends up in Atlanta. The Pistons select Kellen Sternberger. He most recently played in the Overtime Elite League. The Pistons have gone this route before, using a top 5 pick on Asar Thompson. That selection has worked out pretty well, so the Pistons will go back to it, selecting Sternberger. The Cleveland Cavaliers select Demetrius Bailiff from Kentucky, a raw forward with great size, length, and athleticism, along with very intriguing tools that suggest that he's going to be a good player with a very strong skill set. Bailiff became our new number 1 target, but ultimately, he goes before our pick. Our draft board is dwindling down very fast. Michi Porter Jr. goes to the Lakers here at pick 25. One of the best passing guards in this draft. I think he's going to be a perfect fit alongside Dante Del Toro, and I think Porter and Del Toro are going to be an awesome pick-and-roll duo. My favorite NBA rule is everybody with the last name Porter has to be a Porter Jr. Michael, never swing the rock, Porter Jr. Kevin, hit your girl, Porter Jr. TJ Porter Jr. Otto Porter Jr. Michi Porter Jr. Don't forget about Craig Porter Jr. as well. We're coming up as the Milwaukee Bucks select Ace McCoy Jr. from UCLA. A talented, offensively gifted guard. The Bucks have done a nice job adding to their backcourt today. One more team in front of us, the Golden State Warriors select Xander Crossan from Auburn. Crossan provides nothing on offense, but it doesn't matter because he was arguably the best defensive player in college basketball last year. He is clamps on the perimeter and is going to be really valuable in a playoff series against a great scoring wing. So that'll bring up the Blazers here at pick 28. The draft board has not exactly gone the way we expected. Only 2 players who we invited to pre-draft workouts are still available. Pretty much everybody we wanted has been selected. My option, if everybody was gone, was to look to trade for Miles Turner from Golden State. But that's also off the table. So we've kind of gotten screwed over pretty poorly. But when life makes you lemons, you gotta make lemonade. I couldn't find a trade that I felt was good for both teams, so ultimately we're gonna stick and pick. Presumably this will be one of Maël Lorraine from France or Emmanuel Salvador from Kentucky, being that those are the 2 guys who we invited to pre-draft workouts. But who knows? Maybe we throw a curveball like we did last year and go in a different direction. With the 28th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Ashton Wisham from St. Louis University. The Blazers will, in fact, throw a curveball here. With all of our top targets off the board, the Blazers are going to kind of swerve off the road a little bit and take a shot on upside. Everybody wanted us to draft a big, and, well, congratulations. This kid's pretty big. 7'3", 235 with a 7'10 wingspan. So already, he's one of the biggest players in the entire league, and he's got one of the longest wingspans in the NBA. Wisham's only a 72 overall. He's really raw, but I believe in the upside enough to use a first-rounder on him. Wisham is obviously bigger than everybody on the floor, and boy, does he know it. On offense, it's easy for him to score inside. He can score in contact as well. Doesn't have much of an outside game yet, but he tried to utilize his jump shot a little bit at St. Louis, and we saw some flashes. What mostly excites the Blazers, though, is his defense and his unbelievable shot blocking ability. He is a dominant defensive presence inside, and he is there to make opposing big men's life hell. Now, Wisham was very inconsistent this year as a freshman. Started the year off strong, struggled going into Big East play before tearing his meniscus. He is expected to be fully good to go for Summer League. Averaging 22 minutes a night, Wisham averaged 9 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game on good shooting splits. Per 40 minutes, that's around 3.5 blocks a game in 14 games played as a freshman with the St. Louis Billikens. He doesn't have a lot of experience. He's got a long ways to go, and I don't think he's going to contribute a whole lot as a rookie. But man, I believe in the upside with him. If he develops, he could turn into a star. With the 29th pick, the Golden State Warriors select Keontae Cameron-Isles from USC. His projection is pretty simple. Send him in the corner to shoot threes and trust him to play good defense. Pretty simple. With the 30th pick and final selection in the first round, the reigning NBA champion San Antonio Spurs select Maya To'o from the University of Oregon. An undersized guard at 6 foot, To'o is a gifted passer. That's all the Spurs want to add here. Passing. More guys who can get the ball into Giannis and Wemby's hands. So that'll wrap up the first round. Ultimately, didn't quite go as we planned. Pretty much all the guys we wanted ended up getting selected. Dante Del Toro, of course, goes number 1. The first surprise, Chance Corradino, going second. We had a handful of pretty big trades. Jalen Brunson of the Wizards, and the Mavericks adding Miles Turner. As for us, we stick with the 28th pick, and we go with Ashton Wisham, the raw project big out of St. Louis. We had the 6th pick in the second round. There are a couple of players I'm kind of eyeing up, so hopefully we can get one of our targets. The Knicks select Maël Lorraine from France. He was one of our targets. We're not off to a good start. Dion Drano Biggio from Croatia goes to the Jazz. Iman Petrus from Montverde Academy. That's Caden. He goes to the Memphis Grizzlies. Another pretty low-drafted high school prospect. Tyrese Antoine out of Florida goes to the 76ers. Only one more pick. Orlando, don't you dare. And they took our guy. Emmanuel Salvador out of Kentucky. I shouldn't be surprised because Emmanuel Salvador was born to play for the Orlando Magic. He's a 6'8" guard who can guard multiple positions and is an elite passer. He's basically a Walmart version of Anthony Black. It's my own fault for not trading up to go ahead of the Magic because he is such an Orlando Magic player. So that brings us here with pick 36. Again, we're just going to stick and pick. With the 36th pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Armani Robinson out of the Ohio State University. 6'7", 235. He is built like a Mack truck. He weighs the exact same as Ashton Wisham, but he's 6 inches shorter. Robinson will also come in as a 72 overall. I think he's got a really intriguing skill set. 5-star recruit, had a disappointing freshman season at Ohio State, but I think it's more so because the Buckeyes used him wrong. This is an ultra-athletic big man who has the mobility to play on the wing. He's a solid scorer, solid defender, although he struggled at times defensively this year. What I like most about him, though, is his overall explosiveness and his ability to get to the basket. And I think defensively, he should be used more down low as a big in the front court. Ohio State has tried to stick him on the perimeter. I don't think that's his best fit. I think he's a pure power forward who should have his secondary position as a center. Now, if he is running the 5, you need somebody tall next to him because, again, he's only 6'7". I think he's got some upside as a shot maker. Shot 35% from 3 this year on decent volume. He really doesn't have many overall weaknesses to his game. And I think his well-roundedness could make him a pretty solid player. And I think he's going to contribute more this year than Ashton Wisham will. We'll simulate through the rest of the second round, being that we don't have any additional second-round picks. There's not really anybody else I want. So ultimately, we end up with Ashton Wisham and Armani Robinson. Not the draft class we expected, but with how poorly the draft board turned out for us, I think we could have done a lot worse. I really like those players. There were some guys I wanted. Jonathan Wiggum in Milwaukee, Demetrius Bayless in Cleveland among them. Some other teams I want to talk about. I'm very intrigued by the Chance Corradino pick in Atlanta. I think it's a pretty good pick. I could see why people are against it, but I'm very high on him. I like that the Knicks are picking a direction and looking to stick to it. They have a great rookie class. The Lakers, obviously, with Del Toro. Sidney Urbano to Orlando might have been the best pick in the first round. That's an absolute steal. I really like what the Warriors did with all their trades. I think they made out super well. The Pelicans made a great pick with Jalen Richmond. The Thunder made a great pick with Dev Dolderma. The Mavericks got an awesome trade getting Miles Turner. He's going to be a great fit there. And as for us, I'm excited about our rookie class. Even if it's not necessarily how we hoped the draft would go, I really believe in Ashton Wisham and Armani Robinson. The fun factoid I have to finish today's episode out with is I'm pretty sure there were 2 players who we went over in the regular season who we did not talk about in the draft preview. They were Ashton Wisham and Armani Robinson. And funny enough, they're the 2 players we end up drafting. Next episode, we're going to go through free agency, wrapping up the offseason. We didn't make any big splashes today. We're waiting for free agency, and we've got a lot of guys to pay. Shaedon Sharpe, Ochai Agbaji, Anthony Simons, and DeAndre Ayton are all free agents. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions financially as we have to start finally committing ourselves to some big contracts. I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.